A 9-year-old boy stood up for a downtrodden woman who was facing harsh humiliation from a callous bus driver. The next day, a Mercedes arrived at his school, leaving everyone astonished. On a gloomy morning, Oliver and his dad Leo stood at the bus stop. The cool breeze brought a serene hush over the bustling metropolis as they conversed. Leo, particularly focused, imparted his final guidance to his son since he couldn't accompany him to school due to a crucial job interview. "You recall what I told you, right, son? I won't be able to walk you today as I have an interview lined up. Remember to alight at the stop close to your school as we discussed, all right? It's a big city, so stay vigilant. We don't want you getting lost," Leo conveyed with a blend of concern and assurance in his tone. The 9-year-old boy, displaying a hint of independence, reassured his father with determination. "I'm 9 now, Dad. I've got this," he declared, though his smile betrayed his nerves about his first solo commute. With a proud yet emotional smile, Leo tousled his son's hair. It marked a moment of maturity, a poignant goodbye to childhood. "That's my boy," Leo said, his voice steady, masking his emotions. The bus rolled in with a deep rumble, its large metal body swallowing and spitting out passengers. "Look, the bus is here," Leo announced, helping the youngster aboard. With a tight hug, they bid farewell, promising to reunite later. Oliver boarded, paid his fare, and greeted the driver with a shy, "Good morning." Watching the bus depart, Leo's mind oscillated between interview anxieties and hopes for his son's day. Seated in a corner, Oliver settled in as if it were his own universe, peering through the window. He observed the people, streets, and gray sky, lost in childish musings. The city passed by, its colors faded, accompanied by murmurs of conversation and engines. Yet, what seemed like an ordinary day was poised to become a journey of discovery and challenge. As the bus rumbled forward, Oliver couldn't fathom the surprises looming ahead. This day was bound to steer his life down an unforeseen path, one of those rare moments that shape our character and destiny. Little did he realize that his capacity for empathy would face a trial. At a bustling station, the bus halted, welcoming a stream of passengers. Amidst them, one figure stood out conspicuously. A woman, her countenance etched with anxiety, boarded the bus. Her eyes darted restlessly, scanning the surroundings as if in perpetual search. They mirrored a tangible fear and profound worry, leaving an impact on all who caught her gaze. She seemed out of place, carrying an aura of despair that enveloped her like an invisible cloak. It was her turn to go in, but she was stopped at the turnstile because she hadn't paid the fare. With hesitation, she mumbled to the driver that she didn't have the money for the ticket. Her voice was shaking, and it was clear how stunned and embarrassed she was by the situation. The driver, who was clearly not on his best day, exploded into outrage. His words were harsh and cruel. "What do you mean you have no money? Then what the hell are you doing here? Get off, girl, get off my bus." The way he raised his voice and the brutality of his words resonated throughout the vehicle, attracting curious and embarrassed looks. The woman, visibly humiliated, began to beg, trying to explain her need to get to her destination and promising with painful sincerity that she would come back to pay. "Sir, I swear I'll come back to pay you," she pleaded. But the driver was merciless, hurling accusations and unfounded judgments at her, further aggravating her humiliating situation. "As if I'm going to let trash like you ride my bus for free, and I'm going to believe that you're going to come back and pay the fare. I know your kind very well, you're all scammers," he shouted loud and clear. Tears began to flow from the poor girl's eyes, tracing paths of despair across her face. The situation escalated, and it looked like the driver was about to use physical force to remove her from the bus. He was already getting up to grab her by the arm and throw her out of the vehicle. Oliver, who until then had watched the scene with growing discomfort and indignation, could no longer contain himself. He saw that no one else seemed willing to help. Then he stood up, his small figure and determination in his eyes. With a trembling hand, he took his lunch money, the money he knew his father had worked hard to provide for him. He was looking forward to finally buying that pizza at school he wanted so much but couldn't always afford. However, without hesitation, he abandoned his needs in favor of an act of compassion. With determined steps, he approached the driver and held out his hand with the money. "There it is. Now she can get on the bus," he said in a firm voice that contrasted with his age. With a disgusted look at the man, the boy returned to his seat, feeling a mixture of anger and pride, anger at the inhuman way the driver was treating the woman and pride at having done the right thing. His little heart was pounding, not so much at the loss of his lunch money but at the intensity of what he had just done. It was a small gesture that marked not only his day but who he was becoming, a great young man. And so the bus went on, carrying with it a story of courage and humanity in the middle of a gray morning. After little Oliver's act of courage, all the passengers were plunged into a surprised and amazed silence. The driver, speechless, was still stunned by the child's audacity. People exchanged glances with each other, murmuring about the little one's attitude. The woman, now allowed to continue her journey, went to sit beside her savior. Her eyes still bore traces of tears, but there was a new sparkle in them, a mixture of relief and gratitude. "I can't thank you enough, little buddy," she said, her voice still shaky. The boy, with a maturity that seemed beyond his years, took a handkerchief out of his backpack and offered it to her to dry her face. "It's okay. Nobody should be treated like that," he replied simply. The little boy then shared his own experience with the driver, recalling a day when his father, Leo, was 10 cents short and how they were scolded, humiliated by the heartless man, and forced to get off the bus and walk all the way home. The woman listened, her expression alternating between shock and sadness, but she insisted that she would somehow repay the boy for his kindness. While they talked, the world outside continued its course. The bus moved through the streets, passing buildings, stores, and more stops. People got on and off, each immersed in their own lives and stories, oblivious to the small act of kindness that took place inside that vehicle. The conversation between Oliver and the woman was brief but meaningful. He told her his name, and she gave him a gentle smile. Soon, the little one's stop arrived. He waved goodbye and got off the bus, walking with firm steps toward WS, the little school. The woman followed his journey through the window until he was out of sight, her heart still warmed by the little boy's selfless gesture. But as Oliver walked away, completely oblivious to the impact of his actions, the woman remained on the bus, staring at him. No one there could have guessed who she really was. She wasn't just a figure in trouble, a poor homeless woman, or a scammer as the driver had suggested. Her true identity was something that would leave everyone, especially the driver and Oliver, completely petrified by the events that would follow. And so, as the bus went on its way, each passenger took a piece of this story with them, not knowing how extraordinary it would become. The boy spent the day at school with an empty stomach, remembering the pizza he had so longed to buy. Despite his hunger, he didn't regret his attitude because he knew it was the right thing to do. When he returned home, he shared the story of the bus with his father. Leo listened attentively, and his eyes shone with a mixture of pride and emotion. "Your mother would be very proud of you," he said, his voice carrying a sweetness tinged with sadness. The man hugged his son tightly and then opened his wallet, giving him $10. "Here, son, for you to buy that slice of pizza tomorrow, and there will still be some money left for the other days," said his father. Oliver jumped for joy, hugging him in gratitude. Leo continued, "You see, buddy, good things are always rewarded." He tried to keep his tone light and hopeful, even though he knew that money was precious. However, they both had no idea how great the reward that was yet to come would be. The next day, Leo took Oliver to school. Unfortunately, the man had been told that he hadn't gotten the job as a delivery man because He was considered older than the other candidates, even though he was only 37. This made him sad and worried about how he would support his son, especially now that he needed a job more than ever. After the death of his wife, Leo was plunged into despair. His son was only 3 years old at the time, and the next 6 years were marked by struggles and uncertainties, with his father working odd jobs and dropping out of college, giving up his degree in automation engineering to devote himself entirely to raising Oliver. That morning, after dropping the boy off at school, Leo went to talk to the principal about his son's financial situation. Oliver had a scholarship at the private school, but it was about to end. Without a new scholarship or a stable job, the man feared he would no longer be able to keep his son in the school. However, while the little boy was settling down in the classroom and the man was dealing with financial matters, a very fancy Mercedes pulled up in front of the school. The gates opened, and a serene figure stepped out of the car. It was the woman from the bus the day before. The woman who got out of the luxury car was the embodiment of elegance and mystery. Her elegant figure and sophisticated clothing caught everyone's attention at the school, contrasting sharply with the desolate image she presented on the bus. She walked up to the reception desk with an aura that swung between authority and gentleness, attracting looks of admiration and curiosity. When she asked about Oliver and where he lived, there was an urgency in her voice, a need to connect with the boy who had shown her that unexpected kindness. The school, protective of its students, was obviously hesitant, as they didn't know what a stranger wanted with him. But the coincidence that Leo was there dealing with financial matters made the meeting easier. "You're lucky his father is here. Do you want to talk to him?" "Because we can't give you any private information about our students," said the employee, noting the importance of the request. "Yes, please call his father." "I'll be waiting," the woman asked with the politeness of a princess. A few minutes later, Leo, with an expression of concern and curiosity, was led up to her. When he saw her, his mind spun in disbelief. She was stunning, with a beauty that seemed to illuminate her surroundings. "Mr. Leo," announced the receptionist, "this woman said that your son helped her on the bus yesterday and wanted to talk to you." The man's heart beat faster, not only because of his surprise but also because he remembered Oliver's story about the poor woman on the bus. It didn't make sense because he thought it was a homeless woman, not the goddess he was seeing in front of him. She introduced herself, "Hello, Leo, my name is Daisy," and began narrating her interaction with the little boy, expressing her gratitude and admiration for him. Her words were like music to the father's ears, who listened attentively, each sentence boosting his paternal pride. "He was a real gentleman, offering me a handkerchief and paying for my ticket. Such a young boy with such a big heart," she said with emotion in her voice. The two left the reception and went to talk in the school garden, where the conversation flowed naturally in that quiet, welcoming space. As they walked, the woman shared more about her intention to help the little boy. She spoke about the importance of education and how moved she was by the situation of Leo and his son, as the receptionist had told her about them while she was waiting for him to arrive. "It's hard to find such kindness and courage these days. Your son is really special, and you're an incredible father for raising him like this," she said, looking into his eyes. Then Daisy made the offer that would change their lives. "I'd like to pay for your son's education. It's a small way of repaying the great kindness he has shown me." Leo was speechless. His mind struggled to process the generosity and the impact it would have on his and Oliver's future. The man tried to refuse the offer, moved by surprise. "No, I can't accept it. It's too much," he said. But the woman insisted, her determination evident in every word. "Please, Leo, I insist. You deserve it." Overwhelmed by emotion and gratitude, the father finally gave in. Tears began to stream down his face as he fell to his knees on the garden lawn. Thank you so much," he murmured over and over again, each word a sigh of relief and joy. In the middle of that garden, among the flowers and under the open sky, a simple act of kindness had unleashed a wave of generosity and hope that would transform their lives forever. The two of them sat on a bench under the shade of a tree. The atmosphere of the school enveloped them in a welcoming embrace. The woman began to tell her story, and each word revealed a reality that sounded more extraordinary than any fiction. Daisy Rohr was the daughter of a luxury car magnate, August Rohr, and the previous morning, just before sunrise, she had been the victim of an attempted kidnap. She described how, by a stroke of luck and determination, she managed to escape from the car in which she was captured, running desperately through the city. When she was already far away but still fearful of being found, with the crowd waking up to work, she got on the first bus she saw without any money or belongings. The anguish and fear were evident in her voice as she recounted the despair of that moment. Leo listened, each word painting a clearer picture of the woman in front of him. When Oliver helped her, she mentally recorded the location of the school, determined to find a way to repay his kindness. As she stepped out of the car, aided by a kind stranger, she dialed her dad, who promptly came to her rescue. The crooks were nabbed later thanks to the city's surveillance, and she was now out of harm's way. Leo found the tale both bewildering and awe-inspiring. Destiny had intricately linked his son's life with hers in a profound manner. While they conversed, Leo's son dashed to the playground and stumbled upon his father and Daisy. His face lit up with astonishment and happiness at the sight of her. "Hey, you're the girl from the bus." After hearing the entire ordeal, the boy was dumbfounded, realizing the impact of his actions in saving her. She invited them to a diner, promising the boy his long-craved pizza. Oliver leaped with joy, and she chuckled, charmed by his innocence and happiness. After their first encounter, a real friendship blossomed between them. Daisy paid frequent visits, bringing a fresh sense of kinship and happiness to Oliver and Leo. Upon learning of the man's interrupted education, she appealed to her father, who then provided him with the chance to finish his studies and work as an engineer at the posh car company. Their lives took an unexpected turn, completely transforming due to a simple act of kindness on a bus. As time passed, Leo and Daisy fell in love, and Oliver finally found the mother figure he had longed for. Together, they formed a tight-knit family bound not just by love but also by the understanding that kindness and empathy can wield extraordinary power. Their tale demonstrated the power of a simple act of kindness to ripple through lives, touching souls and reshaping fates. Thus, thanks to the compassionate gesture of a young boy aboard a bus, the trajectory of one family's existence altered, blooming into joy and affection.